What can developing countries learn from China's innovation strategy? What if developing countries do not actually need to wait for wealthy nations to become powerful before they can build their own technology, industries, and wealth? Look at China. A few decades ago, China was significantly poorer than it is today. But instead of simply remaining a buyer of foreign products, China spent decades building something much bigger: the ability to learn, manufacture, innovate, and eventually compete globally. So what can developing countries learn from China's strategy? The answer may surprise you. Rule 1. Think long-term. One of China's most important lessons is simple. Do not build only for today. Build for the next generation. Beginning with the reform era under Deng Xiaoping, China increasingly placed science, technology, education, and economic development at the center of its long-term development strategy. The thinking was not simply, how can we make more money this year? It was, what capabilities must we develop so that our country is stronger 20 or 30 years from now? For developing countries, this is incredibly important. A country cannot build advanced industries overnight. You need schools. You need engineers. You need infrastructure. You need electricity. You need research institutions. You need businesses capable of turning ideas into products. These things take decades to develop. So the first lesson is, stop thinking only about the next election, the next budget, or the next year. Start asking, what should our country be capable of producing 20 years from now? Rule 2. Do not only import technology. Learn how it works. For years, China imported technology, machinery, expertise, and foreign investment. But the bigger objective was not simply to remain a customer. China wanted to develop the knowledge and industrial capabilities required to eventually compete. This is a crucial lesson for developing countries. Importing computers is useful. Importing machines is useful. Importing medical equipment is useful. But if a country imports everything forever, it remains dependent. The better question is, what can we learn from what we import? If you import agricultural machinery, learn how it works. If you import solar technology, develop the skills to maintain and eventually manufacture components. If you import telecommunications equipment, train engineers who can eventually design competing systems. Buying technology solves today's problem. Learning technology helps solve tomorrow's problems. Rule 3. Take manufacturing seriously. This may be one of the biggest lessons developing countries can learn from China. Manufacturing is not simply about factories. Manufacturing creates knowledge. When people repeatedly build something, they discover how to make it cheaper, how to make it faster, how to reduce waste, how to improve quality, how to design better machines, and eventually, how to invent better products. China became a manufacturing giant by developing enormous industrial ecosystems. Developing countries do not have to immediately manufacture advanced aircraft or sophisticated computer processors. They can begin with products they already consume: food processing, textiles, furniture, building materials, agricultural equipment, household products, packaging, basic electronics. Then gradually move toward more sophisticated manufacturing. Start where you are. Improve what you can. Move upward. Rule 4. Invest in people. A country cannot become innovative if its people do not have the skills to innovate. China invested heavily in education, technical training, universities, science, engineering, and research. And developing countries can learn from this. Imagine a country where thousands of young people are trained every year to become engineers, scientists, software developers, technicians, researchers, manufacturing specialists, entrepreneurs, agricultural technologists. These people become the foundation of future industries. And there is an important principle here. Natural resources can make a country wealthy, but human knowledge can teach a country how to create wealth repeatedly. Oil can run out. Minerals can become depleted. But educated people can keep creating new businesses, inventions, and industries. Rule 5. Start with your own problems. One mistake developing countries sometimes make is believing innovation has to mean inventing something completely new for the entire world. It does not. Sometimes the greatest innovations begin with a simple question. What problem do people around us have? China developed technologies and business models designed around problems within its enormous domestic market. Developing countries can do the same. How can farmers get better information? How can people access affordable financial services? How can electricity become more reliable? How can transportation become cheaper? How can healthcare reach rural communities? How can food waste be reduced? These problems are not merely obstacles. They are opportunities for innovation. Solve enough local problems, and some of those solutions can eventually become global products. Rule 6. Learn, improve, and scale. China became exceptionally good at taking existing ideas and making them cheaper, faster, more accessible, more efficient, and easier to manufacture at scale. There has also been serious international criticism of China's historical intellectual property practices and allegations of technology appropriation. That is not a model developing countries should copy. The better lesson is, study what already exists legally. Understand why it works. Improve it. Create something better. Then protect your own intellectual property. Innovation does not always require reinventing the wheel. Sometimes it means making the wheel better, cheaper, and available to millions of people. Rule 7. Build for scale. This is where China's enormous domestic market became extremely powerful. When companies can serve hundreds of millions of customers, they can potentially produce at enormous volumes. Higher production can reduce costs. Lower costs can attract more customers. More customers create more revenue. More revenue can finance further innovation. And the cycle continues. Developing countries may have smaller individual markets, but countries can cooperate. Regional trade can create larger markets. For example, African countries could increasingly build businesses capable of serving customers across multiple African markets rather than thinking only about one city or one country. Think local when solving the problem. Think regional when building the business. Think global when developing the product. Rule 8. Do not wait for perfect conditions. Perhaps this is one of the most important lessons. A developing country may say, "We do not have enough money. We do not have enough technology. We do not have enough factories. We do not have enough skilled workers." Those problems are real, but development has to begin somewhere. China itself did not begin with everything it has today. It built capabilities gradually. One industry supported another. One generation trained the next. One successful company created opportunities for others. One factory created demand for suppliers. Development compounds. You do not need to build everything at once. You need to build the first strong foundation. Rule 9. Make innovation a national habit. Innovation should not belong only to universities. It should not belong only to technology companies. And it should not belong only to governments. Farmers can innovate. Teachers can innovate. Engineers can innovate. Small businesses can innovate. Manufacturers can innovate. Students can innovate. The question should constantly be, can we do this better? Better quality, lower cost, less waste, faster production, better customer service, better technology, better education. When millions of people continuously ask that question, innovation becomes part of the culture. The big lesson. So what can developing countries learn from China's innovation strategy? Not that they should copy China's political system. Not that they should copy everything China did. And certainly not that China's path was perfect. The deeper lesson is this. Build capabilities. Invest in people. Learn from the world. Manufacture what you can. Solve your own problems. Improve continuously. Think long-term. And scale what works. Because countries do not become powerful simply because they possess natural resources. They become powerful when they develop the knowledge, institutions, industries, and people capable of turning resources into lasting value. So, here is the question. If developing countries follow these principles consistently for the next 30 years, what could they become? Maybe the next great economic transformation has not happened yet.